Episode 61.
61. We're rolling. The weeks are going by like crazy.
Yeah, I can't believe it.
Isn't that
And
nuts?
how many subscribers do we have?
Almost 6,700 now. Getting more by the day. 20, 30, 40, 50 a day. So,
Wow.
yeah, we're growing. I like it. So, who knew? But
So what are we going to talk about today?
well, we're going to talk about something that nobody's really talking about. It's called the zero limit reality. And basically what it is the laws that, since the first time since the 1970s, prevented Russia and the U.S. from building more nukes. Like it was kind of a limitation clause so that we wouldn't build ours any bigger and they wouldn't build ours any bigger. Well, February 7th, I believe the date was. I'll look it up. That law expired.
And they didn't keep it.
And they haven't signed a new one as far as I know. And, you know, if we combine this with what's going on in Iran, and they don't want nukes, and so we're going to talk about this because it's kind of scary in a way. Now, second subject, you better stick with us because this is going to be good. Better than Bad Bunny.
Yeah, better. That's for sure.
Sydney Sweeney's new lingerie line. We're going to do some pictures, and I got a little commercial that she put together on Instagram we're going to run. It's called SYRN, SYRN. And it's a whole line. And she's up against the big companies like Victoria's Secret and all. So
wait, this is her line?
Her lingerie line, yeah.
Wow.
So just in time for Valentine's Day, folks.
Yeah.
We got that, and then we'll talk about something that nobody's talking.
I mean, I think the major networks, not even a minute on it.
TrumpRX.
TrumpRX.
So we're going to talk about that and how they're collaborating with GoodRx, by the way.
Yes, they are.
They're in that. Yep. So, and then more to government possible shutdown. The demands are making on ice, and the last ridiculous thing we'll talk about.
Oh, it's so stupid.
Is voter ID.
Unbelievable.
How I went through shit to get my ID, and now they don't have to have it to vote, which is stupid.
Wait, the ID that you had to get was the real ID.
Yeah. But either way, you need to get ID.
Sure.
But it's cumbersome, but we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Before we do, let's roll the intro, and don't forget, hang out because Sydney Sweeney's coming on.
That's right.
All right, we're rolling the intro now. Boom.
Shall we play a game?
Let's play Global Thermonuclear War.
On February 8th of this year, historic crossroads, it was an historic crossroad, just 72 hours ago, the last remaining guardrail of the nuclear age, the New START Treaty. I remember this when you were a kid. Remember this when you were a kid?
Yeah, absolutely.
I remember them talking about it and everything. On how, in other words, what this is all about is Russia and the United States was going to stop making nuclear weapons. They were going to halt. We had so many. They had so many. How many do you really need? And they started a treaty that would stop the production of nuclear weapons on both sides, Russia and the U.S.
You got over 1,500.
Well, it expired on February 8th,
yeah.
leaving the world's two largest nuclear arsenals without any legal limits for the first time in over 50 years.
I remember as a young kid, too. Remember doing all the air raid drills?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And hiding under the desk.
Yeah, in Brooklawn Middle School.
Middle School,
remember
yeah.
Brooklawn,
yeah.
7th grade, 8th grade, I think it was.
You hide under a desk,
You
so
hide
when a
under a
nuclear
desk,
thing
yep.
came, it would go like this.
Yep.
And go right over you. The desk would definitely protect you.
Yep.
Hiding in the desk.
But yeah, I mean, now this...
It's not a game. It's not a game.
It's not a game, and I don't know whose fault it is or who's talking about it or what, but it wasn't renewed. So what do we got to do? Build more nuclear missiles and bombs? I mean...
You know, how many you need to destroy the world?
Right.
I mean, it's crazy. And they said something...
And then, but wait a minute. What about China in there? Is China... If they do bring this back...
They're a nuclear power,
I would think China's got to be involved. And possibly India's got to be involved, and Pakistan.
Yeah. Yeah, they would have to limit their...
Yeah.
They're nukes.
Yeah, because back then it was just basically us and Russia.
Right. Now, I don't know. I should look that up. How many countries are nuke, have
Well, I
nukes
think,
right
and
now?
I think France might be, and England possibly. I don't know.
Um, so I guess it was a last minute proposal from Putin to extend the limits for 1 year. Oh, okay. So Trump allowed the treaty to expire.
So it's really Trump's fault.
Yeah, of course. Well, I mean, come on. We know it's his fault.
Oh yeah, it's always his fault.
And it's interesting you said that because it said he wants better monetization and agreement that includes China.
Yeah. Well, it's got to. You gotta put China in there.
Yeah. So the doomsday clock, scientists have moved the doomsday clock to 85 seconds to midnight.
What does that mean?
Well, if you take an hour, I think this is what it means. If you take an hour, midnight, if you take 1 day, right?
24
I
hours.
think is it 24? It might be just 1 hour. So if you take 1 hour, we're 85 seconds from a nuclear war. Right? So it says here they get 85 seconds to midnight. So that's a minute and a half or whatever it might be. The closest it's ever been to a global catastrophe is what they're saying.
Oh.
They cite not
Are you
just
are
the
you
treaty
saying if we
collapse.
launch a missile, it'll take 85 seconds
No,
to
no,
get
no.
over to Russia?
No, what it means is
I still don't-
it's a doomsday clock saying that we're almost at DEFCON 4 or DEFCON 5. We're close to a nuclear, right?
Oh, I
So
see.
midnight is a nuclear disaster.
Okay.
What did they say?
85 seconds.
We're 85
before that.
seconds to midnight,
Right.
right? So you got all that time before that we were in the safe zone. Now it's
Right.
getting closer and
Now it's
closer,
getting closer.
right?
Oh.
Like they talk about men and, people on Earth.
Right.
Since Earth started. We're the last 5 seconds of the whole calendar month or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
So that's what we're up against now. And we brought this up because we're talking about Iran. They're trying to get another treaty with them, make sure that they're not going to build nukes. The bottom line is we can't have them have nukes
Right.
because who knows what they're going to do. They'll be the first ones. to
Now
push
I'm
it.
going to play the left side here, or people that are. Why? We can have nukes. Russia's got nukes.
Well,
China's got nukes. Is it because Iran? We think that they're not a stable country, and they think that they're gonna use them.
they always said that to America, right?
And
They're a
that's
big threat.
Israel too.
They're a
Yeah.
big threat. So who's going to hit
that's
the
it.
button, Russia or them?
Yeah.
I mean, so that makes it very scary.
Is that the Muscat negotiations simultaneously in Oman today? Am I pronouncing that right? Oman? Oman? Amman today.
Yeah.
Don't get old. Indirect talks between the U.S. and Iran are hanging by a thread.
Right.
Iran's foreign minister, Abbas Ramadavandingdong,
Close enough.
stated today that Tehran will never accept zero enrichment on its own soils.
Right. So you have to enrich uranium to make nukes, but they also use it for nuclear plants and
Right.
power and different things.
Right.
They're claiming that that's what they need to do.
Okay.
Now, can we stop again? They talk about weapons of mass destruction. Remember back in Iran?
Yeah. No,
I mean, Iraq, and there was no weapons of mass destruction because we had inspectors there.
Right.
But these countries are the ones, and believe me, all the countries around them are happy if they don't have nukes either because they're a closer target than we are.
Well, that was the same thing with Saddam Hussein. A lot of the countries didn't care for him, and we took him out. I don't know.
And China right now, and that's why they want to make it part of this treaty again, or this limitation, I should say, because they're building more. They're building their arsenal up. They could reach 1,000 warheads.
warheads by 2030.
And all they need is a rocket to carry it over and hit us.
Yep.
And that doesn't take much these days, So it's pretty scary when you think about it. And as a kid, during the Cold War, remember Cuba, the Cuban Missile Crisis? That's where Russia was putting missiles in Cuba.
That's right.
To target us. And Kennedy.
That's why I was born in Puerto Rico, and we left in '62 because my mom was really basically scared. She didn't want to. She didn't want to be in Puerto Rico when all that was going on. '61 and '62. So I was only 2 years old, 3 years old, and we left Puerto Rico to come back to the States. mainly because of that. What was going on?
Yeah, and they said if they don't fix this, we're going to be in another nuclear arms race.
Race, yeah.
You know, I mean, part of the reason we're going back to the moon is because, see, back in 1960s, when Kennedy said we got to go to the moon and back,
Right.
China was trying to get to the moon before us. So was Russia. So we had a reason to go there.
Right.
After those were all done, nobody was going back to the moon.
No, yeah.
But now they are. China is racing us to the moon, and Russia's thinking about it
Didn't
too.
Elon Musk just launch a rocket that's going around the moon?
No.
Coming back, or somebody did?
Didn't go off. That was NASA, and it didn't go off. It's not going off till March now. It was delayed.
Oh, okay.
So, and it might be delayed again. But there's only certain times they can launch because the
Right.
moon's in the right orbit and that kind of stuff. But what they're going to do is launch, and they're going to loop around and come back. So, but it's a big deal. But they put a warhead on some rocket that comes over Greenland. And this is why we want Greenland
Yeah.
to help, give us a shot to shoot this stuff down.
Is that called the zero limit reality?
Well, again, that's the first time since the 1970s what they said. It was a law that stopped U.S. and Russia from building too many. And it's just gonna continue if we don't get this signed again. So I hope Trump steps forward and Putin and Trump, because look, we are the two biggest powers, right?
no
So
doubt
if
about
one country decides to bomb either one of us, we'll have to do them. But by then there'll be nothing left. I got to say,
Remember those? What was that movie? War Games. The kid was
Oh.
playing the computer.
yeah.
Yeah.
war games.
Yeah.
Do you want to play a game?
Game.
Thermonuclear destruction.
Destruction.
Wouldn't you rather play a game of chess? Yeah, great movie.
It was.
War games.
I remember the head of the
Yeah.
armed forces.
Whomper.
Well, why can't you just pull the
Pull
plug,
the
on
plug
the
on it, yeah.
It doesn't work that way.
Yeah. Yeah. Whomper, war or something.
Yeah.
Something. So, yeah, I mean, we're kind of laughing, but,
It could happen.
this is something that nobody's talking about. And these warheads are getting built and they're getting on top of rockets and, anybody's a threat. But these guys like Iran right now, they're scared. If they make one, they think it's nothing to lob one over at somebody, so who knows? But
Yeah, and you're talking about the AI threat. If a computer glitch thinks a bird is a missile,
right.
there are no longer human inspectors or hotlines required by treaty to stop the response, and our safety now in the hands of the
Algorithm, yeah.
algorithm.
So that's true. The part of the treaty was that men have to, and you see it in the
yeah.
movie. They got to both turn the key and the whole thing,
Right.
to make sure it's real. Because we
What's
don't.
it called? The football?
I don't know.
Yeah, the president's got the football.
Oh, is that what it's called?
Yeah, it's called the football, I think.
You watch too many movies. All right, ready for this? Let me roll this commercial first. Hang in there. So we're going to talk about Sydney Sweeny again. Remember her jeans? She has good jeans.
She has good genes. That she
The
does.
controversy that
If
she
you
did.
want, again, if you want to know who she is, watch the show White Orchid. Orchid?
White elephant. White
No,
white orchid. Well, white rabbit.
no, White Lotus.
Oh, lotus.
Lotus.
We knew it was an animal or something.
Yeah.
Was it lotus?
That's a flower.
Oh yeah, flower.
She's in that.
Yeah,
So
but she's got her own lingerie. Anyway, here's a commercial. Let me run this while we're talking. This is her in the commercial, and she's mowing the grass and she's doing clippers and trimming hedges, riding a lawnmower. So it's pretty cute. But she's up against
Victoria's
mostly
Secret.
Victoria's Secret, yeah, because it's very nice and they look great. And, after the commercial, I'm going to run pictures for a few minutes too. So they're giving her a lot of hassle. I mean, she's a pretty blonde girl and she's pushing her product. And she recently, I guess it was a couple of weeks ago, she threw some of her bras. Now somebody said it was AI, but I don't know if it was. But some of her bras over the Hollywood sign.
Oh,
Letters, and they took pictures, like a publicity stunt,
right.
So now, when you think about people getting upset about this, it's because she's good looking, I guess. A lot of people are upset, but who are you going to put in that lingerie? Miss Piggy? I don't think it'll look as
Remember
good.
when you were younger, you got your wife that or your girlfriend that? You buy that.
Of course.
You're 20, 30 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah, now you buy them a girdle, big wire, big
okay.
thick wire
Not that
bra.
bad. Yeah. Right.
Depends.
Here, hon, here's your belt. Depends. Oh, my God. Don't even go there.
Gonna be coming soon.
Please kill me. Where's Dr. Kevorkian when you need him?
Yeah.
But beautiful girl. She's got a great line. Again, it's called SYRN. I'm giving her a great plug here. SYRN, SYRN. Get it? Like a hot girl siren. She's a siren. You know? So she's doing well with it, up against some big companies, and hopefully she'll be all right. You know, everybody picks on this girl all the time, no matter what she does. So, you know, believe me, I'm sure she's not a brain surgeon, but she doesn't need to be.
Right.
And even if she wasn't, I'll let her operate on my brain. I don't care. So there you go. There's Sydney Sweeney's SYRN, and enjoy that, and hopefully good luck to her. So
TrumpRX and GoodRx. First of all, nobody's talking about the TrumpRX. GoodRx has been around for a long time, but TrumpRX,
yeah,
in case you're wondering what that is, because nobody really reported about it, at least our president, it's the first president that's actually doing something. Now, I know Barack Obama came out with the Affordable Care Act, but the Affordable Care Act, half the country didn't know what it was, the other half didn't want it. So this here is actually a very good idea, and it just launched. And basically what it is you get brand name drugs at a discount versus GoodRx will also do the generic drugs.
right. Now that's the difference, because they were showing a price comparison stuff, and they showed one drug was the brand name was $300, and I'm just using rough numbers, and TrumpRX was $150, but the generic one is $80. You know, on GoodRx. Now GoodRx and TrumpRX are closely related.
Yes, they are.
Right? They're
Well, Trump went to them or
they're
something.
they're an integrated partner in this whole thing.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
And TrumpRx has got roughly, because it just started, 43 drugs that are, versus GoodRx is up to 6,000. But that's going to change with Trump's.
Right.
It's going to change. At least he's doing something.
Yeah.
You know, with the Affordable Care Act, I credited Obama. I said he's trying to do something, but it's just it didn't work. This, I think, is fantastic. You go to the pharmacy, you just claim you got TrumpRx, and you get a nice discount. Do you have an example here of something that's?
Well, I do. Now, this is not a great example, but, you know, they have brand name drugs from TrumpRx, like Pfizer's Protonix. They have generic equivalents, but GoodRx has the generic equivalent of $10
Right.
versus $200 on TrumpRx, but the drug's $1,000.
Right.
You know, so if you want the brand drug, one of the biggest ones he does is the Wegovy stuff, the fat drug, which we better start taking.
Yeah. Pretty soon.
But there's a that's not a plug to take it, because it's got a lot of side effects.
Yeah,
too,
it
but-
does have a lot of side effects.
But it does help. I mean, people swear by it, but it's also an addictive drug. Look at Kelly Osbourne. Did you see her recently?
No.
Not looking good.
Oh.
Skinny as a mini, and
Yeah. Well, I
was
heard that
addicted to the drug.
some of the side effects are pretty bad.
Yep.
It gives you. Remember, they used to talk about scurvy.
yeah,
Scurvy was something that sailors would get sometimes on ships because
Oh,
they
okay.
wouldn't shower and they get scurvy. It's mainly
you use that as a kid. You're scurvy.
yeah. Well, yeah, but scurvy was what it does really. It just makes you very tired.
No.
You're very weak. You get a rash. This, that, and the other thing. But yeah, yeah. But they say that some of these drugs could do that. Don't you love these ads on TV?
Oh my god.
I gotta hit.
Every
My
10
wife tells me
minutes.
all the time, hit the mute button. I don't want to hear it. There's a drug. Sometimes they talk about these drugs. You don't even know what they're for.
No.
Take a merge.
Yeah.
Merge is so great for you.
Well, I love
I
it.
look at my wife. I go, "What is it for, though?" They don't
This
even
drug
say
will
what
make
it's
you
for.
20 years younger. The side effects are, though, your head might fall off.
Right. Oh yeah, the whole list of
The whole list
side
of
effects.
That's
You
what
might
kills
die.
me.
You might this.
More
you
than
might
half the
that.
commercials, all the side effects. Your fingernails will fall out. You know,
Your hair, you lose your hair.
lose your
You can't walk.
yeah.
Your
What
toes
good
will
is-
get.
I'd rather have the cold. I got a little cold. I take this drug. I lose an arm. Take the cold. But TrumpRx.gov, I think it is.
Yep.
And between GoodRx and TrumpRX, I've used GoodRx in the
Oh,
beginning,
I've done it too.
before my insurance got better.
Yeah.
And it was really amazing what they
Yeah.
cover.
And this is, let's back up here just for a minute. These two things, mainly the Trump RX, is for people who really don't have insurance. So
Right.
you got
Oh, yeah.
your health insurance from your work or whatever. That's a
Mhm.
different thing. This is for somebody who doesn't have insurance, and they
Right.
could go and they could get drugs at a very cheap price.
Yeah, and right now, thank God, with my insurance now, I'm not on too many meds, but they're covered. Zero,
Yeah.
nothing. So it's fantastic. But you're right. This is for people who really need the drug and can't afford it. I mean,
Right.
my wife takes some kind of breathalyzer thing that she gets once a month. It's $600.
You gotta be
It's
kidding me.
ridiculous. No, and insurance hardly pays for some of that. So we're going to be looking into Trump and GoodRx to see if we can
Yeah.
get something better.
Yeah.
But yeah, more drugs will be coming.
Yeah.
And hey, look, it's something good, people.
That's right. It is.
Because you ask a lot
But
of people. out
nobody
there-
talks about it. Nobody's saying anything about it.
Well, they talk about him a lot. Epstein.
Yeah, that's right, Epstein.
We're gonna find something.
You see the picture of him with the little girl? It was Ivanka, right?
Yeah, I know.
Didn't we talked about that
yeah,
last week?
Last week, yeah. Yeah, it's just crazy. Anyway, so here's something good. You want to look for something good? There you go. All right.
Hey, just not to change the subject,
go
but
ahead.
FBI is swarming. They just came out with this. FBI swarms Annie Guthrie's neighborhood. That's Annie Guthrie is
Sister.
sister of Savannah. Her neighborhood, his SWAT team rolls out from sheriff's department.
Oh boy. You know, I said from the beginning, you can mark. I think I said it last week. It's a family member. Watch this.
Continuing cover new images of individual at Nancy Guthrie's door. Oh boy.
Yeah,
Oh my god.
they got a lot more than we think they have.
Yeah,
right now.
I think so too. This
Like,
this is a shame.
She's missing 10, 12 days now, and that's not good. She needs medication, and she's an elderly lady, so we'll see. So keep an eye on that story. That's been going on for a long time.
Yep.
So the government, we're trying to avoid another government shutdown.
And what are they? What are the Democrats complaining about?
Well, first
ICE?
of all, we put something through already. We got most of the stuff pushed through because we took some of this stuff out that we weren't going to do, and we're going to vote on it.
So we did
later.
partisan, which
Yeah, it was
is
a
great.
bipartisan, yeah.
bipartisan thing.
Yeah, something. What the hell? I should have had it. I'm sorry, guys. There was something that went through bipartisan. Literally, it was like only 6 people in the entire Senate said no to something, and I should have had my facts. I don't. But this is Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer again. I think we mentioned this too last time. Mandatory body cams. Now, I know that's not a problem. I think that's a great idea.
I think it's a great idea.
You know why? Because it'll prove them better than
Right.
what people are saying is happening.
I figure they already had them, but they didn't.
Yeah. No, I thought so too, but they really don't.
'Cause the police have that now. Right?
Yes. Mask off policy. Now, I'm not 100% on this one
No.
because they get harassed. They know who they are. They're going to go after the family.
Yep.
So I'm not sure about that, but that's part of what the Dems want to get this thing passed so we don't have a government shutdown. And then we have warrant reform, tightening the requirements for warrant to prevent agents from entering private property without judicial warrant. So now what they're trying to do is slow it down in the courts to get the right warrant to go in there to, especially a school or a business or something like that. They want to slow this down. They have a warrant. The warrant is that they're a criminal and they have a record and they're illegally in the
Did
country.
you see that one in Philadelphia?
I don't know.
Yeah, they busted right into a house. The guy was guilty. I mean, they had to arrest him, but
Yeah.
the wife went out of
Oh
the house.
yeah, she's screaming. Of course,
Screaming.
she is.
Screaming, I can't believe what they
Yeah,
did.
look what they're
But-
doing to us.
From what I understand, they knocked on the door and they said, "Open the door,"
Yeah.
and he didn't open
They
the
didn't
door.
open the door.
This is ICE. This is open the door, and they didn't open the door, and
They bashed the door in. Of course. I mean, it's crazy.
I think it was in Philadelphia.
And then ending roving patrols. I'm kind of mixed on this. I can understand you don't want to have them up and down the streets and causing trouble or scaring people. That's fine. Safe zones. Now this is one that's touchy because now here's the funny part. Just like Lemon there went into the church to protest, which is against the law.
Yeah, they got to arrest. Well, they did arrest them,
Yeah. Well, nothing's going to happen.
but they should.
But here's the thing.
Do you realize that let's say don't do anything about that.
I know.
You let
Everybody's
them
gonna
go.
do it.
Oh, everybody's gonna. You're gonna be now. We're churchgoers, my wife and I. Every Sunday morning at 10 o'clock, we're at the Catholic church. I picture a gang of people coming in.
I know.
Start screaming and yelling, and you're Nazis, and you're this, and you're that. And I know some of the guys in the Catholic church.
Yeah.
There's some. They won't take that. they'll
Yeah.
start a riot.
Well, yeah, I always thought, in the few times I do go to church, I was thinking about carrying a gun
Yeah.
to church. You never know. They come in, they kick in the doors.
I would carry those burners, whatever
Yeah.
it is.
So, and I do go to church once in a while. In fact, when I show up, I hear the rustling in it behind me. I think that's the dad. I think that's the husband. Yes, it's me. I'm here. It's Easter. What do you expect?
I remember when he got married, he's kneeling at the altar, and on his shoes we wrote, "Help me."
Yeah.
The left shoe, help. Right shoe, me.
Yeah. That was pretty funny. Safe zones. Now, what I meant to say was Lemon goes into this church illegally. However, they don't want ICE to go into churches or child care centers or polling areas or schools. So they don't want them into the churches, but their protesters can go into church.
Yeah.
No problem. And then, of course, independent oversight, which isn't a bad thing. Uniform code of conduct and all that, and training in the right way, I think is a great idea. I don't see any problem with that at all.
Right.
The other thing now that they're fighting against is ID for voting.
They're fighting for that.
This is funny. No, they're fighting for
You need an
not
ID to buy a $7 bottle of wine. You need an ID.
I know. So it's too much of a burdensome is what they're saying for some people to get. So it says here, they claim that requiring proof of ID citizenship to vote in federal elections is voter suppression. That's what they're calling it. Voter suppression because it's too hard to get an ID. Now, I'll vouch for that because I tried to get a real ID. It took me forever.
Well, that's real ID. It's a little different. But just
Yeah.
to get an ID, I mean, you could get that.
Showing you're a citizen before deciding the future of our country isn't extreme. It's common sense. If you need ID to fly, you need ID to drive, you open a bank account,
buy a beer.
right?
Yep.
Simple. You need ID.
Yep.
Why don't they want to have ID to
Because
vote?
It's votes. It's votes for
That's
the
right.
Democratic Party.
That's right.
They could sit there, the illegals that come in and they don't have ID, they'll say, "Oh, look at the Democrat Party. We can vote because of them." And what they're saying, it's more votes for the Democrat Party. That's all this is.
For every illegal alien we don't get out of here that don't have ID,
It's
it's
less
a vote.
vote for them.
It's a vote.
Yep.
Overly burdensome, this cracks me up. Overly burdensome photo ID requirements blocks millions of eligible American citizens from voting. As many as 11% of eligible voters do not have the kind of ID that's required by states. Now, I would say most of those people drive, right? Most people are driving until they're 80-something years old.
Right.
They're buying liquor.
Yep.
They're doing whatever, and they have ID.
They have ID, sure.
Why are they saying 11% of Americans don't have it? Maybe that is true. I don't know. It's required by state. And they say the percentage is even higher among seniors and minorities, people with disabilities, minorities, and people with disabilities and low-income voters. Why? How much does it cost to get a thing? $30,
Yeah, something like that.
right? A real ID is a little bit more expensive.
It's $60.
Yeah. So you got ID. You tell me that these people don't drive, they don't drink, they don't do anything. They have no ID. They don't fly, which is possible. Some people don't fly.
Right.
But come on, people. I mean, every day we're showing ID.
Yep.
Every day. I just went to Best Buy to pick up a TV because now my wife's redecorating the kitchen. Now she wants a TV on the wall.
Right.
I bought it online. They have the code number and the QR code. And boop. First thing they said to me is, "Can I see your ID?"
Right. Well, I sold cars for 42 years. Every time we sat down with a customer, "Can I see your driver's license, please?"
What do you do? Scan it through.
Yeah, because we can't let somebody go and drive a car without an ID. We
No.
can't do it.
Yeah. Now
They
look
want
at
to take a test drive. Can't do it.
now. What about these elderlies they mentioned? Elderly people, right? They go to the doctor. What's the first thing they do? They scan your ID
Yep.
and your insurance card, of course, because somebody's got to pay for the stuff. Many citizens find it difficult to obtain government photo IDs because of necessary documentation, such as birth certificate. Duh. So were you not born here?
Right.
Now, it's often difficult or expensive to acquire the birth certificate. Now, I'm going to tell everybody out there, I had to get a new birth certificate. Now, I'm 104 years old. So it's pretty old. No. If you go through a service on the internet, it costs money for them to get you a birth certificate. But if you go directly to the county where you were born, they find it and they send it to you for free. It doesn't cost any money except for postage or whatever else. So they're available. If you were born in this country, now that could be a problem. If you were not born here and you came over the border,
Right.
you're not going to get a birth certificate.
No, you're not.
And it's going to cost you a fortune to get a fake one. So,
Right.
right? So we got to be careful what we're talking about here. So I really think it's right. I think all the states should be mandatory. I don't care what anybody says.
Absolutely.
No
doubt about it.
It said Brennan Center conducts research on voter ID, proof of citizenship, and in-person voter fraud. Our attorneys are assisting, so they got attorneys on it and all this stuff. And it's true. It could be voter fraud. If you're not a citizen, you're not allowed to vote. I can't even vote in New Jersey. I live here.
Right. Yeah.
Right? You got to vote in. If you're voting your district people in and all that, you got to vote here.
Sure.
You can go. I knew a girl who voted. I guess it was. I don't know if it was her father or cousin was running for office, but he was in a different county, and she went over there and voted for him, and they got caught. You can't do that. You got to vote in your county and all that stuff.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
So that's what we got. Anything else? Anything new on Guthrie there?
No, there's evidently
How's
now they're in the neighborhood of Annie Guthrie's, but they did thing did pop up and said they were at her house.
Okay.
Oh boy, do you realize the scandal?
Now this is we shoot on Tuesdays. This is out on Thursday. So 2 days from now, we're going to see what's really going to happen.
How do you like some of the Olympics? How do you like some of these skiers that are putting down the country?
Yeah.
I mean, it's horrible. It really is.
Yeah, go ski for somebody else.
Yeah.
And Lindsey Vaughn is not good, and things like that. But we'll talk a lot. I think we'll talk more about the Olympics when they're over and the medals, and we'll get into that for sure.
Yeah.
But I hope you stay with us tonight. I hope you enjoyed the nuclear talk and the Sydney Sweeny talk. I hope.
How about the Super Bowl? Did you like it?
I don't know.
Did we talk about?
It was
Yeah,
slow. It was only a field goal. Geek. $1,000. Geek. $2,000.
Yeah. It was a very boring Super Bowl. I thought it was. I thought it was kind of.
Well, they knew they were favored to win, and they won. I mean, that's the bottom line. And then the whole controversy with Bad Bunny, which we talked about last week, he was coming on, but the online thing is really ranking them up. Still, people are still watching it, and there was I saw
An online thing. You're talking about the thing with Kid Rock?
Yeah, Kid Rock, and all, yeah. I saw a clip. It was a bar, 100 TVs all the way around. He switched them all to Turning Point USA.
Is that right?
And one guy was like, I want the whole thing, the whole Super Bowl. I want the halftime show. And he was bitching to the manager about it. And he goes, no, this is what we're watching. He didn't give in.
Yeah,
So,
good.
hey, to each his own. A lot of energy, but you know what? Some of the twerking and the stuff, there are kids in the audience. There's kids watching the Super Bowl. You gotta, I don't know. There were some of the dancers are grabbing her crotch and doing all this crap. I don't know. Whatever happened to Whitney Houston?
Yeah.
All right, we're going to go. But enjoy the show. Stick around. Please like, subscribe. As you saw throughout the videos, like, subscribe, and the bell.
Oh, yeah. We need more cowbell.
We need more cowbell. And that means you guys.
That's right.
Thank you. I'm Joe.
And I'm Bill. See ya.
Good night.
Good night.
Have a good one.